Broncos country, we are here with the free agency video. And yeah, this was a great free agency for the Denver Broncos. Technically it's not over. Technically just started today. Today being Wednesday, of course. But I'm going to go ahead and record this video now. I've tried to make this video a couple times. I was going to do one where I made a video after every single day and recapped it like I have in years past. But day one, I went to the Avs game. And then I came back and I was exhausted. And then I recorded one yesterday, edited it, and it was ready to upload. And then I fell asleep and forgot to upload it. So I figured, why not go ahead? Let's just do it right here. And man, what a free agency for the Denver Broncos. It's not how many players you sign necessarily or how much money you spend in free agency, but it's how you use it, how you spend that money. If you address positions of needs and make your team better. And that's exactly what I thought the Denver Broncos did in today's video. Remember, if you do enjoy, to leave a like and make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as the support is greatly appreciated. And no matter who you are, Jesus loves you. Let's go ahead and let's get into this. So, the first thing, or I guess let's go over some of the re-signings. So we're going to go in order of how everything happened. And this started on Sunday night, the day before the legal tampering period began. And the Broncos re-signed quarterback Jarrett Stidham to a 2-year, $12 million deal. He's going to be making about $6 million per season. He's 28 years old. And, Stidham said that the Broncos, I can't remember if he said it was the best or one of the best quarterback rooms he's ever been a part of. But Stidham loves the quarterback room, and I think him and Bo got really close. They're really good friends. Zach Wilson was in there too, but yeah, I'm happy with Jarrett Stidham being the backup. I think if I had to choose, I probably would have said Zach Wilson just because he is younger, has the higher ceiling, as well as he has more game reps, he has more in-game experience. But I'm fine with Jarrett Stidham as well. Go ahead, Zach, go try and start again. I'm rooting for him, but Stidham, he knows the offense. This will be his third year in Sean Payton's offense, so hopefully nothing happens. But if he does need to step in, he's familiar with the offense, and things can still flow just fine. Probably not at the level as that Knicks would have it flowing, but Stidham as your backup, he's got the familiarity, which is exactly what you want in your backup quarterback. So no new guy like a Marcus Mariota or Jameis Winston. I guess Winston would kind of know the offense, but like a Marcus Mariota, he wouldn't have to come in and learn the offense. So Stidham re-signing on a 2-year deal is just fine by me. I know a lot of Broncos fans might be upset or just meh. I'm kind of meh on it too. I don't think it's the biggest. I'm fine with it. I don't think it's anything that Broncos fans should get super hyped or super sad about. Jarrett Stidham's the backup quarterback, and he's with the team for another 2 years, and the cap hit isn't going to be that much for Jarrett Stidham. Here's what the quarterback room looks like. Stidham is obviously the number 2 behind Bo Nix. The next thing we did is we signed long snapper Mitchell Fraboni to a 3-year, $4.175 million contract. You can see his AAV right there, and I'm fine with this. Not a huge cap hit. You obviously need a long snapper, so at just 28 years old, I'm fine with keeping him around. I don't know a whole lot about any other long snappers in the league or any potential undrafted free agents that the Broncos could grab at the long snapper position. I'm fine with keeping Fraboni. He's been a solid long snapper. Haven't really noticed him in games, but that's kind of a good thing if you don't notice your long snapper. And good for Fraboni, playing one of the easier positions. You don't get hit as a long snapper, right? You go out there, you snap the ball, which, it is fairly challenging to do. I don't think everyone can do it. But getting paid $1.3 million for the next 3 years, that's a heck of a living to make some money. I would do that in a heartbeat. So good for Fraboni. He is back with the Broncos. Next up, we re-signed DJ Jones late that night. He's 30 years old, and he signed a 3-year, $39 million contract, averaging $13 million per season. And at the start of the season, I didn't know if we were going to bring DJ Jones back. But after this past season, he was a big impact to this defense, not only helping in the run game, but providing that interior pressure and being a part of one of the best defensive lines in all of football. I thought it was a no-brainer to bring him back. I'm glad DJ Jones is back. And, at the cap hit, I don't mind paying him $13 million per season. I think DJ Jones is kind of an underrated player. It sounds like the 49ers wanted to bring him back. Of course, we signed him from the 49ers a couple seasons ago, but DJ Jones is back in Denver on a 3-year deal, and I could not be happier. This is kind of what the defensive line room looks like right now. You have Zach Allen, DJ Jones, John Franklin Myers, as well as Malcolm Roach as that rotational guy. You got some other guys in there like Ioma Uwazurike and Jordan Jackson, and you probably are going to add to that room in the draft at some point, but these 4 guys were really, really solid for the Broncos. Zach Allen, you could argue, was the Broncos Defensive Player of the Year if you're given the MVP award to Pat Surtain. John Franklin Myers came in and he made an instant impact. He made his presence felt, helping with the pass rush and the run game. All 4 of these guys were very solid. Malcolm Roach impressed me. I knew he was a good run stopper, but when he rotated in, he was very, very solid. So, yeah, DJ Jones keeping this line intact. I'm very, very happy he is still in Denver. Next up, that morning of the legal tampering period, I think it might have happened like right before the legal tampering period opened, or maybe shortly thereafter, but we re-signed Matt Peart to a 2-year, $7 million deal, making about $3.5 million per season. At 27 years old, Peart isn't one of the greatest tackles, but he was the guy who the Broncos would always sub in. It would be like, number 79 is reporting as eligible. Matt Peart, I don't mind him coming back. He would be kind of like your swing tackle. Him and Alex Palczewski would be those guys. Obviously, you don't want him to play a whole lot. You wouldn't want him being a starter for a long period of time, in my opinion. But if he needs to sub in for a couple of series or maybe even a game, I don't mind having the depth of Matt Peart on this team. This is kind of how the tackle room looks. I know it's technically the offensive line room, but if we're just focusing on the tackles, it's Garrett Bowles and Mike McGlinchey as the starters, and then as I mentioned, you got Alex Palczewski and Matt Peart as a swing tackle. You also have Frank Crum, who was a UDFA last year, who's kind of a developmental guy. We'll kind of see what the Broncos want to do with him, but I think they really like Palczewski, who was a UDFA a few seasons ago. But for right now, this is the Broncos tackle room. Then we move on to our first actual signing, and this signing took a while. It said the Broncos are working on a deal with Talanoa Hufanga, and that was like 2-3 hours that we were working on a deal, but we finally got it done. Hufanga, just 25 years old, has already been a first-team All-Pro in his second year. Now, these past 2 seasons, he's missed 17 total games, so he's missed a full season worth of games, and that's the big thing with Hufanga, is he has had injury history these past 2 years, so you want to hopefully keep him healthy, obviously, but we got one of the best strength and conditioning coaches and one of the best medical staffs in the NFL, so hopefully they're able to keep him healthy, because when he is on the field, he is a tremendous talent. This is a high upside signing. You're paying him a lot at $15 million per season. It's a 3-year, $45 million contract, as you can see on the screen. But paying him $15 million is a lot. But if he's playing at that all-pro level and at that level that he can play at, and he is staying healthy, it's a very, very big value signing for the Broncos. And it fills in a need for safety, because Brandon Jones, he was solid last year in his first year with us, obviously, but PJ Locke, I felt like kind of struggled, and so we definitely needed to address the safety position at some point. In a couple of my mock drafts that I made before free agency, I had us taking safety early within the first 4 rounds because I felt like we needed to address it. Now, I feel very, very confident with Hufanga and Brandon Jones as those 2 safeties. Maybe you take a depth guy later, but I kind of like the depth guys we have in PJ Locke, JL Skinner, De'Laren Turner-Yell, Devin Key. I like those guys, so I think right now we're good, and Hufanga has that high upside. He just has to stay on the field, and he's kind of like a chess piece where you can move him all around. He can play up top. He can move into the box, play closer to the line of scrimmage if you need him to. He's a kind of a do-it-all gadget piece, just needs to stay on the field. Here is how the safety room would look. Right now I have Hufanga as the free safety, Brandon Jones as the strong safety. Those could obviously flip. And then you got PJ Locke, JL Skinner, De'Laren Turner-Yell. As I mentioned, Devin Key could be here on this list. But these are kind of the 5 guys that I would expect the Broncos to roll with next season. Hufanga, Brandon Jones being the starters. I would imagine PJ Locke would get rotated in if you maybe needed an extra DB or if one of them needs to be subbed out. JL Skinner, I like the upside of as a guy who we drafted in the 6th round. Just his first year he was coming back from an injury, and then he was a solid special teamer this year. I really like the upside of JL Skinner. And then Delaren Turner-Yell, who was a former 5th round pick back in, 2022, I believe. Then we probably have, I think this is my favorite signing for the Broncos in free agency. It's signing Dre Greenlaw to a 3-year, $35 million extension. You can see his AAV right there, and he is just 27 years old. Now, this is kind of an underpay, and I think part of that is because he was coming off of an injury, played, I think, it was 35 or somewhere around that range of snaps that he played last season. But when he is on the field, he is a beast at the middle linebacker position. And this is a position that we've been lacking at for quite some time. Cody Barton was solid. He's in Tennessee now. Alex Singleton, he's been okay with us. I would say okay to good with us. And he's shown some flashes, right? But he's coming off of an ACL injury. He's coming off of an ACL injury. So is he going to be at 100% when the season starts? We'll have to see. You got Drew Sanders, who's a former 3rd round pick who, has dealt with his injuries as well, but he's also bounced around from edge to linebacker. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now, you can say that Dre Greenlaw, he benefited from playing next to the best linebacker in football in Fred Warner. Now he gets the opportunity to be that number 1 linebacker by himself. And when he went down and tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs, that's when everything changed for Kansas City. Him going down was a massive, massive loss for the 49ers in that Super Bowl. And so being able to pick him up at this deal, $35 million seems like an underpay, honestly. And I know everyone's saying it, but the level that we know he can play at, now he does have to come back, didn't play a whole lot last season, but the level that he is playing at, I think this is going to be a big-time add for the Broncos, adding to a linebacker core that has been a little bit lackluster for the past few seasons. I'm a big, big fan of Dre Greenlaw. Here's how the linebacking room turns out. It's going to be Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton as the starters. Drew Sanders kind of as that rotational guy who's still developing, and we'll have to see what happens with him. Does he move back to edge? Is he going to fully develop as an off-ball linebacker? We will have to see. But Justin Strnad, he was signed back on a 1-year deal, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. And then Lavelle Bailey, who is a UDFA, who I like the upside that he brings to the table. Moving on to another signing we made, it was Trent Sherfield, wide receiver. Now, Sherfield has bounced around. I believe he started his career with the Cardinals. Last year, he was with the Vikings, has played with the Bills, the Dolphins. I think he's had some reps potentially with the 49ers. Don't quote me on that, though. And at 29 years old, he's on a 2-year contract for $8 million. $4 million. He's getting $4 million per season. And for me, and everyone said it, but he is the Traymon Smith replacement, right? We had Traymon Smith, and he was technically a corner, but he didn't get a whole lot, if any, cornerback reps with the Broncos. He was mostly a extra returner if you needed, or he played gunner anywhere on special teams. That's where Traymon Smith played. I expect Sherfield to fill the exact same role. Instead of taking up a corner spot, he's going to take up a wide receiver spot. So however many wide receivers you were expecting the Broncos to carry on their active roster, I would just increase that by 1 for Sherfield here. And here's kind of how it plays out right now. You got Sutton, Mims, Vele, and Franklin. Those are the big 4. I expect us to draft a receiver early in this upcoming draft. Maybe poke around on a veteran wide receiver, but I do expect us to draft a wide receiver early this year. But Sherfield, kind of that depth guy. Maybe he gets a couple receptions, a couple of snaps, I should say, at the wide receiver position. But I mostly expect Sherfield to be a special teamer for the Broncos this upcoming season. Next up, we re-signed Justin Strnad on a 1-year deal. Re-signed last year, and I didn't expect him to come back last year. And he played solid when he had to come in for Alex Singleton when he went down. He filled in fairly well and, got himself another contract. The former 5th-round pick out of Wake Forest signed a $2.7 million deal. I don't know if I really expected him to be back, but I'm fine with this signing because Greenlaw's obviously the number one, but hasn't played a whole lot or didn't play a whole lot last year because he was coming off of an injury. Alex Singleton is coming off of an ACL injury. So, I don't mind Strnad as that depth guy, especially if Drew Sanders is still trying to develop for the inside linebacker position. So Strnad as a depth piece and as a rotational guy, I don't mind him coming back for the Broncos, especially at a $2.7 million cap hit. Next up, or I guess I should say, here's the linebacking room. We talked about it a little bit earlier with Drake Greenlaw. He's kind of that fourth guy. You could argue maybe he's number 3 if Drew Sanders is still developing. But this is kind of the core room right here. And maybe they keep 5, but I would expect maybe Lavelle Bailey, depending on what he does in camp and preseason, maybe to be back on the practice squad potentially. Then moving on to the one that everyone was waiting for. He visited the Broncos Sunday night. I think he got there Sunday night, had dinner with the Broncos, and then visited with them all day Monday. And we were all expecting a deal. It sounded like he was at the facility late, and then he left without a deal. And then he goes to the Chargers, and that's kind of when you're like, oh, man, now the Chargers have him. Are they going to let him leave with a deal? And they eventually did, and he signed with the Broncos today on a 2-year, $23 million deal. I think I can't remember how much was guaranteed. It's like 26 or 16 or something like that was guaranteed. He was offered about the same contract between the Broncos and Chargers as it has been reported. He chose the Broncos, and yeah, Bo Nix finally gets that vertical threat tight end, someone who he can attack the seam with on offense, and we really needed this. We really did, because Troutman, I like Troutman, but he's kind of like a hybrid tight end who you're going to throw out there to run some routes, maybe not get a whole volume of targets as well as block. But, he doesn't specialize at one thing. He's, I would say, good at both, not great or elite at both, where Evan Ingram is going to stretch the field vertically, and it's going to give another weapon to Bo Nix, because Bo Nix needs weapons, and so signing Evan Ingram here allows us the flexibility to draft the best player available in the upcoming draft. And maybe that's still a tight end. Maybe that's a running back. Maybe that's a receiver. That's kind of where I'm leaning right now. But you have that flexibility. Heck, a defensive lineman could even be the best player available. You're no longer forced to address that need early, whether that be in the first or second round at tight end. Evan Ingram covers you right there, and this is a huge signing to help Bo Nix and help him continue to develop. And I would expect the Broncos to draft heavy on offense. I'd expect maybe our first few picks to go to offense. I would say defensive linemen somewhere within the first 4 rounds. But other than that, I would say attack the offense, get a receiver, maybe get another tight end. Definitely got to get a running back too. A running back is an area that we need. And for me, I'm not super high on any of the running backs still left in free agency. I would rather draft 2 running backs in the upcoming rookie class, which, by the way, I'll have a mock draft coming out. You're probably seeing this on Thursday, I think. Probably like Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday, you're going to be seeing this. So maybe on Friday-ish, that's when I'll come out with my mock draft, a full 7-round mock draft for the Broncos. I have it made and it's ready to be recorded. But yeah, it gives you the flexibility. I'm rambling now. Talking about Evan Ingram, this is how I expect the tight end room to look as of right now. Evan Ingram is obviously the tight end 1. Then you got Adam Troutman there as the tight end 2. Can go out, run some routes, is a blocker. If you need him to go out in 12 personnel, now you can have Adam Troutman go out there with Evan Ingram. And then you got Lucas Kroll and Nate Atkins as the backups. And I expect Nate Atkins to be the Andrew Beck type of guy right now, who plays fullback and tight end and can flip between the two. That's kind of where I expect his role right now, with us currently having no fullback on the roster. Now, just a quick look of how this offense is going to look right now. the offensive line is going to be Wattenberg, Powers, Bowles, Miners, and McGlinchey. That offensive line is going to stay the same. I'm kind of in the way here, so let me just move my face cam down here. But yeah, the offensive line is going to remain the same right here. Then you look at the quarterback situation. You got Bo and you got Jarrett Stidham. The weapons right now, you got Cortland Sutton as your X. You got Devon Bailey in the slot. And you got Marvin Mims opposite of Cortland Sutton, just kind of as the deep threat right now. But obviously the draft's coming up, so we'll have to see if that sticks. You got Trent Sherfield, who is a new signing, which you can see over there. I don't expect him to get a whole lot of playing time on offense, if I'm honest, like I mentioned earlier. And then you got Troy Franklin, who I still really like and I still think has a ton of upside, just needs to develop a little bit, especially on the deep ball. He struggled at catching the deep ball this past year, so needs to work on that. But I still have high upside, or I have high expectations still for Troy Franklin. And you can see the tight ends with Evan Ingram, Adam Troutman, Lucas Kroll, and Nate Atkins. Down at the running back position, though, this is where we need some help, and we need to draft a running back early. I kind of want Travion Henderson, whether that be trading back and taking him in the late first or trading up in the second. I really want Travion Henderson. That's kind of my guy for the Broncos. If we don't get Ashton Jeanty, of course. I know a lot of people like Omarion Hampton, and I wouldn't be mad at that, but I kind of want Travion Henderson. But again, I'm rambling. This is the running back room as it stands right now of Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, Tyler Beatty, and you will not get me to say Bidet. I'm saying Tyler Beatty. I guess I should say how he wants it pronounced, but Tyler Bidet, and then Blake Watson as the running backs. And then we move on over to the defense here. And the defensive line, we, of course, run a 3-4 system where the outside linebackers are the edge rushers, but the interior line consists of DJ Jones, Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers. Of course, Malcolm Roach rotates in there with Ioma Urazurike, former 4th-round pick, being back there, and Jordan Jackson as well. The edge rushers are Jonathan Cooper, Nick Benito, Jonah Ellis, and Dondre Tillman. Moving to the linebackers, we talked about them earlier, but Dre Greenlaw, Alex Singleton, Justin Strnad, Drew Sanders, Lavelle Bailey. Yeah, I already said Drew Sanders. I was going to say him again. But yeah, those are the linebackers. You can see the corners. You got Pat Surtain and Riley Moss as your outside corners, and Jaquan McMillan as the slot guy. You could put Chris Abrams-Drain as the backup in the slot or the outside. I see him mostly as a slot guy, but could play on the outside if you needed to as well. And then Damari Mathis is kind of, to me, he would be your depth outside corner. Like if, for example, Riley Moss went down, I would say Damari Mathis would step up as that other outside cornerback. But to me, I would rather have Abrams-Drain, but I just kind of see him more as a slot guy. But we'll have to see what the Broncos think. And then you got the safeties of Brandon Jones, Talanoa Hufanga, and then Devin Key, PJ Locke, De'Laren Turner-Yell, and JL Skinner. Those are your guys at safety. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are of this Denver Broncos free agent class. To me, the free agent class gets an A+. We addressed 3 positions of need with 3 of the best players that we could get, and I think they're all pretty good values as well. Of course, we got to save some cap space for the draft and other potential free agents, but I really like what the Broncos have done. If I were you, personally, I wouldn't expect the Broncos to make many more moves. I know a lot of other Broncos fans are like, yeah, maybe we do this, maybe we do this. I wouldn't expect any major moves. Maybe they kick the tires on a Cooper Kupp. But personally, I think we've kind of got the guys we want. Maybe sign some depth guys, some special teamers here or there. But I'm kind of hunkering down and I'm preparing for the draft as the next just lot of guys come to the Denver Broncos to sign. So, yeah, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel down below if you are new. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Parker, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.